Look, there's some effort, Congressman, by those in the media that it's a both sidesism, that it's, both sides are doing it. But how do you see it?
Well, of course, the media and Democrats want to claim that this is a both sides issue. They did the same thing after Charlie Kirk was murdered. They've done it every time there's been an assassination attempt against President Trump, but that is simply not true. I mean, there was a poll done just a few months ago by YouGov that found that 25% of survey respondents who identify as very liberal believe that political violence can be justified. That number is only 3% of those who identify as very conservative. If you ask, do you believe that it's okay to celebrate the death of a political opponent? 24% of those who identify as very liberal say yes. That number is only 4% for very conservatives. Now, that should be 0 for everybody, and we ought to be able to all agree on that. But the idea that this is a both sides issue is simply not true. This is an issue that we're seeing predominantly from the political left in the United States, and that's why you've seen multiple high-profile assassinations or assassination attempts against conservatives.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man. Crazy, crazy stuff. And one of the things that always happens with these liberals, as you just heard, is they always run to the both sides, well, both sides. Whenever anything happens, none of these Democrats will ever admit that there is a problem on the left with violence. They'll never admit it. Every single time, including, and God rest his soul, when Charlie Kirk died. When Charlie Kirk died, none of the people on the left, none of these Democrats, none of the politicians, none of mainstream media said, hey, maybe there's a problem over here on the left. Maybe there's a problem amongst us Democrats. It was always, well, both sides because blah, 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 blah. That's what they do every single time. And that is part of the problem. And that is another reason why we can't allow these people to win. They are bat crazy. Crazy. And will do anything to stay in power, which I'm going to be talking about that in another video as well. So stay tuned today. But like I said, they will literally do anything, including lying about there being a problem amongst their party. And listen, I don't think that's going to change until post 2028 election, when they lose that election. Okay, because then I think there'll be a real moment of reckoning where they'll realize, okay, America is not rocking with us as a whole. Our lies, our propaganda has not worked. We've tried to push the nonsense time and time again, and we have lost. We lost to Trump again. We lost the midterms, which was absolutely historic. That was the fourth time in 100 years, in a century that has happened. And now we lost in 2028. Like I said, that's going to be the only time where I think they will have a moment of reckoning. But we have to force them to that moment. So we got to win these midterms, right? That is the first order of business. So make sure you show up in these midterms. But I want to play this clip from Adam Corolla because he says exactly, what needs to be said. And I think it's what a lot of people are thinking. So with that being said, let's hop right on into this clip, shall we?
When people do that thing, it's always like when people go, and it always drives me nuts. They go, I know, CNN, they got their agenda, but hey, Fox got an agenda too. Fox, they're both doing their thing. I go, okay, let's check their batting average on COVID, because CNN lied about everything and was wrong about everything, right. And Fox was right about everything, and CNN was wrong about it. Should we go with Hunter Biden's laptop? Should we go with Joe Biden being senile? Let's pick a subject, and we'll figure out who's. Well, they're both saying something different, and they both have an agenda. But one side is wrong all the time, right, and lying, and the other side has a much higher batting average. And so, right, you can go, people do that, Republican, Democrat, they're all bad. The Democrats are batshit crazy. Right. You couldn't have said this during Bill Clinton's time, but now you can. And so you go, I don't like this whataboutism. Like they're both. Right. One one side is pushing hard for transgender kids,
Right.
and wants to overregulate and tax your life, and wants Elon Musk dead,
And that's-
basically. And the other side wants lower taxes, and they want to own guns, and they want the
Right.
government to leave them alone.
And
so
they have like
fuck
more
you.
police on the streets.
Yes, you with all this, and they
Right.
don't want. I don't want my kid getting trans, and I don't want trans story hour
Yeah.
at the local library. No, one side is not clinically insane.
Right.
They have their foibles. You may disagree with Iran or certain policies or foreign policy, but they're not batshit crazy and ruining everything
Right.
at the same time. The right did not ruin Los Angeles and California. The right didn't ruin Seattle. It didn't ruin Chicago. It didn't ruin Portland. The right didn't ruin anything. The left ruined shit. So stop being so magnanimous and
they're all- yeah.
I'm against all politicians.
Yeah.
No,
They're all corrupt.
defund the police is a shit idea that gets people killed. Fund the police is a good idea that saves more lives.
True.
And abolish ICE is a batshit crazy idea too, and rounding up criminal felons is a good idea. So off.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, literally, you name the idea that's come from the left, and it's a bad idea. Like you said, defund the police. Who does that harm? The very people that are voting left, first off. A lot of them, actually. And again, it's just a terrible idea because now you're allowing criminals to run rampant, and they know nothing is going to happen. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, I talked about a story from out of Seattle where, of course, they continually vote left, but their solution to having pimps running up and down their streets, running from the police and, going up and down residential streets and shooting at each other was barricades. And it's like, so you would rather put up barricades that you now have to go around or park a block away from your house because of, rather than saying, hey, why don't we just arrest these people and throw away the keys so they could stop terrorizing our neighborhoods, so they could stop sending bullets through my the front wall of my house where my children are sleeping. And it's like, what type of idea is that? Here's another one. Abolishing ICE, like you said, getting rid of ICE. Aren't people complaining about housing prices? What could cause housing prices to go up? Demand. Don't illegal aliens need homes too? They sure do. So what do you think is going to happen if you just allow a bunch of illegals like Joe Biden did to sprint into the country? All of a sudden, you now have this influx of demand for housing. What do you expect the housing prices to do? Skyrocket. Who's complaining about, well, all of us are complaining about house prices, but leftists are also complaining about housing prices, but they also want illegals to be able to come into this country without any type of checks, balances, or anything? How does that even make any type of sense? It doesn't, right? It makes no sense whatsoever. None. I obviously, we could go on and on and on about the different topics that Democrats have come up with that are just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I love the fact that he brought up whatever Democrats have touched has turned to crap. Look at California. It is a literal poop hole. It is absolutely destroyed. And they've garnered so much power in California that they've basically permanently cemented themselves into power by changing some of the laws in California. And the only way to get around it is possibly the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas, I'm looking at you, brother. Don't let us down. Okay. But yeah, they've basically made cheating legal in California. I mean, you guys saw what happened to Spencer Pratt. You think that was by mistake? You think that just happened to happen, right? Election day, mail-in ballots. Spencer Pratt is number 2 in the mail-in ballot vote on election day. He's number 1 in-person voting on election day, which puts him number 2. And then all of a sudden, right after the election, he completely falls off a cliff to a very, very distant third. Very, very distant. All of a sudden, the mail-in ballots completely flip from having him number 2 in the mail-in ballots to number 3. And Karen Bass at number 2 and Nithya Raman at a distant first. They're all mail-in ballots, so why did mail-in ballots all of a sudden change post-election? There was mail-in ballots being counted before the election, or on election day, I should say, that were mailed in. So how does that how does that change like that? Shouldn't, if mail-in ballots on election day have Spencer Pratt number 2, should mail-in ballots post-election day have him at number 2? Why does he just all of a sudden drop off a cliff to a distant third, and Nithya Raman, who was in third place, sprints to first? Just saying. Just saying. And you look at a city like San Francisco, where they literally have a map displaying all of the human feces that's on the streets. Man, oh man, oh man. You just can't make this stuff up. And then whenever you call them out on their nonsense, well, it's both sides, because, just load of crap, man. Load of crap. So make sure you show up in the midterms. We got to get this W. All right? To make sure that they never take power, or at least this version of the Democrat Party never takes power in America again. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.